What's up, guys? Welcome to the Metal Roofing channel. I'm Barnette. If you're a homeowner interested in a standing seam metal roof for your house, I know one of the things you don't want to do is regret that purchase. So in today's video, we're going to learn how to avoid buyer's remorse when purchasing a standing seam metal roof. And to help me out, I have Kristin from our Sheffield Metals sales team. Thanks for being here, Kristin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Thad.
Yeah, for sure. So you talk with homeowners a lot just in your day-to-day calls with your office in Ackworth, as well as heading up our residential referral program. So today we're going to talk about, how a homeowner can avoid buyer's remorse, because a metal roof is a huge purchase, a roof in general, but especially standing seam, right? So we're going to hopefully quell some of those fears today. And that's actually what we're going to start with is fears. Kristin, tell me about some of the biggest fears that you hear from homeowners kind of in your everyday conversations with them.
I think some of the biggest ones are going to be noise, price, aesthetics, which kind of goes into color selection, hail damage, improper installation. I think that's a huge one. You want to make sure that it's installed properly.
Yeah. Let's start with a very high level overview. Kristin, what are some of the top 3 things that a homeowner can do right away to avoid that buyer's remorse?
First and foremost, you want to make sure you're doing your research. You want to know what you're getting yourself into, and you want to make sure that this roof is going to work for you and your specific situation. Another thing would be to get multiple bids and really to qualify those contractors that you're working with. You don't want to just get kind of a one and done thing. You want to make sure you're really protecting your investment that you're making. So, and then another would be to fully understand the process and to really know what you're getting yourself into, know all the warranties that come with it and the manufacturer's details.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's dive in a little bit further into some of those very specific things. When you're talking with homeowners, I know for a fact that there's a lot of misconceptions and myths about metal roofing out there, especially standing seam metal roofing, because it's a system that, is growing in popularity. It's not something that everybody has on their roof, right? Most of the time it's shingles. So if someone is interested in standing seam, what are some of the myths and misconceptions that exist? And then let's kind of debunk some of those things as we're going along. So what are some that you've heard?
So I think one of the biggest ones are that metal roofs are noisy when it rains. Obviously, people are going to immediately refer to a carport. And when you're standing under a carport, of course, there's no insulation between you and that carport. So you're going to hear all of that rain. Whereas modern metal roofs today are installed over solid sheathing and insulation. So it's no different than your typical asphalt shingles.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in, a shed or a barn or something like that, and you can look up and actually see the metal panels, and absolutely that rain chatter will kind of come through. But with that attic space, I can definitely see how that would block the sound from the rain.
Absolutely.
What are some other ones?
So another one would be that metal roofs rust easily. Today's metal roofing systems are designed with protective coatings and paint, such as Galvalume with PVDF, that actually are made to prevent rust and corrosion.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and if you look at the warranties, that reflects that as well. Sheffield offers a 50-year Galvalume warranty, and that warranty covers perforation from rust. That right there shows the longevity of metal roofs now, because again, you always kind of think about those barn roofs. If you're driving down the road and you see a rusty barn roof, that kind of metal is not what's going to end up on your house if you've got a high quality standing seam roof.
So another one would be that metal roofs are too expensive. While the upfront cost is going to be a little bit steeper than your asphalt shingles, what you really need to take into consideration is how much longer this investment is going to last. They're going to last 2 to 3 times longer than asphalt shingles. Also, they're going to reduce replacement cost and maintenance versus asphalt shingles, which are typically going to have more replacement and upkeep on those roofs. One of the other myths that I hear are that metal is going to be too heavy for my house. In this case, metal roofing is actually lighter than slate and tile. It's often comparable to asphalt shingles. That any roofer can install a metal roof, which is actually not the case. You really want to take the time to do your research and really qualify those contractors before you just let anybody put a metal roof on your house. Lastly, that all metal roofs look the same. There are many different styles, profiles, and colors available. And then there's also metal shingles that mimic the style of a traditional asphalt shingle.
If metal is 2 or 3 times the cost of asphalt shingles, am I gonna get the return on my investment over the course of that lifespan? What's that look like?
So metal roofs often improve energy efficiency. They increase your resale value, and oftentimes they qualify for an insurance discount. So you're just adding long-term value to your property. You're really, taking the time to invest in your own property.
So earlier you mentioned that research is super important for a homeowner. So if I'm looking into a standing seam metal roof, what's some of the things that I should be looking for online and around my area when I'm doing my research?
So first and foremost, you really want to research your profiles and the system that you're looking for that will be really specific to your project. Another big one would be the cost of this investment. What is that going to look like? What is it going to cost you? The expectations of the install, so you really understand what that process is going to look like from start to finish. Another good one would be the location that you are in and any specific requirements for the projects in your location.
And one example that I can think of when you're talking about location is if I'm on a coastline, I'm going to need to use something other than a traditional Galvalume steel roof. If I'm within 1,500 feet of a coast, I can't get a Galvalume warranty, so I'm going to want to use something like aluminum to avoid corrosion in those coastal saltwater environments.
Absolutely. Very good point. Which brings me into my next one. You really want to understand your manufacturer's warranties altogether. So you really want to look into those, make sure you understand not only what that covers and really how to apply those, how you're going to get those from the manufacturer. Is that something that you're responsible for doing, or is that something your contractor is actually responsible for doing for you?
Yeah, and let's talk about contractors. Once I've done my research and I've kind of learned some of the basics and I kind of have a general idea of what I want, how do I find a contractor that's qualified to do my project?
First, most important things to do is really to qualify that contractor and make sure they are a licensed roofing contractor. What are their credentials? What does that look like in your area? Again, specific to the project that you're looking for. Do they install up to manufacturer's details? Will they be able to provide you those warranties that we were kind of speaking of? How will you get those warranties? What will you be in charge of? How much of that will be on you as the homeowner versus your contractor? And then we kind of go into things like those problem areas on your roof. What will those problem areas look like? What will it look like when they start to install? You need to know those expectations, and so there's no surprises along the way during the install. Some other good ones are definitely how many years experience do those contractors have? How long have they been in business? What does that look like in their area? Do they have examples of pictures and projects they can show you, past projects that they've done, so that, again, there's no surprises when you're looking at these things. Having someone on your property, clearly you're investing in your property, so you want to make sure things are being done up to code, up to spec, and up to your liking. When you do have people on your property, you want to know how long this project is going to take. Is it weeks? Are we looking at months? What is this going to look like? What is the preparation for this project going to look like? How many people are going to be on site? What is the crew? You want to know things like, are you hiring subcontractors? Who's going to be at my property? Will someone need to be home during the installation? And then, towards the end of the project, what will that cleanup look like? You want them to leave it how they found it, if not better in that case, right? With a brand new roof, shiny new metal roof. But what is that going to look like?
So we've talked about research a ton here. So, what are some ways, where should a homeowner be looking for this information online?
I think the first resource should definitely be the contractor that you're working with. Obviously, get as much information as you can from that contractor. If you still have other questions, you can definitely contact your state roofing association. And then obviously the manufacturers. The manufacturers should have a ton of information. Sheffield Metals, we offer the Metal Roofing Learning Center. We have a ton of content that you can kind of go down and answer many questions yourself. And then really just soak in that knowledge yourself from our website with the content that we have available.
All right, I think we covered a ton of information here. How do we kind of sum it up? What's one piece of advice? If you could give someone one piece of advice to avoid that buyer's remorse, what would it be?
As we mentioned, obviously research is extremely important no matter how you're getting that or where you're getting it from. But don't be afraid to really ask questions and dig deep. You don't want to have any assumptions that you'll regret later. This is a huge purchase. And so you really want to know everything as much as you can up front. So don't be afraid to ask anything. There are no silly questions during this process.
Awesome. All right. Well, I did want to plug the new Sheffield Metals residential referral program. If you're a homeowner interested in a Sheffield Metals standing seam metal roof, you can visit us on sheffieldmetals.com. Check out our homeowner hub, the learning center, as Kristin mentioned, and we can get you connected with contractors in your area that can install a Sheffield Metals roof. Kristin is heading up that project, so she can help you answer your questions, walk you through that process. So again, Kristin, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
If you have any questions, please comment down below. As always, I'm Barnette. We'll catch you next time.